Hi, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of our Student Spotlight series, where we are able to showcase some of the work our students have been doing. I'm Charlotte. I'm one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR, and it is our pleasure to have with us today Sophia. So first, Sophia, can you just introduce yourself? So tell us where you're from, what year you are in school, and then what program you did and what the course was.
Sure. Hi, my name is Sophia Leung. I've been living in Hong Kong since I was born, and I'm 18 right now in 11th grade in my school, and I'll be taking my IGCSEs later this year. So I've been exploring different fields in biotechnology ever since I heard about it from my parents last year, and I find it really inspiring how biology can be combined with emerging technologies to assist our society to fight diseases and also to aid patients, just actually making the process of optimizing global health much more convenient and swift as a whole.
Great. And then can you tell us, so you did one of our Future Scholars Program courses. Can you tell us which course you did and then just give us an introduction to what the course was about?
So I joined the Future Scholar program, and my course was about regenerative medicine and tissue engineering. So it was just basically about using biology and technology to create an artificial tissue to help patients to recover from injuries.
That's super interesting. And then did you have any experience with this subject either formally in school or had you done any kind of formal education on regenerative medicine before CCIR?
So CCIR was actually my first summer course about biotechnology, and I've actually never learned something like that in school, so it's a really eye-widening experience for me. And now that I actually look back on it, I consider this, I think, not only a really good starting point, it's also a milestone in my journey as because joining this program actually built up my knowledge and interest in biotechnology. And so this experience really encouraged me to continue participating in similar activities. And I think it's also a huge asset that I'll want to mention in my resume when I apply for universities in the future.
Yeah, great. And then to discuss your specific research a little bit, can you tell us what your research paper was about and how you decided on that topic?
So I did a literature review on the utilization of the biomaterial collagen in the regeneration of the corneal stroma. It's a part of the cornea, and it's the thickest layer in our corneas. So I chose this topic because I noticed that I was the only person with glasses on in the group once I joined the course, and this actually got me more interested in working on a topic related to the human eye. And so while I was doing research about the ocular regenerative medicine, I found out that corneal tissue engineering has been an active field of study in recent decades. So I decided that it would be an interesting topic to explore about, especially because how injuries related to the cornea are so common. And I focused on the stromal layer in the cornea because it's a really crucial part in maintaining the transparency of the cornea as a whole. And there's also been progressive advancement in biotechnology, bioengineering corneas with a lot of novel technologies like 3D printing and also electrospinning. So these are really interesting aspects to look at.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And it's cool that you were able to research something that you have a personal connection to. And then can you walk us through your research methods and what that process was like? So had you done a literature review like this before, and how did you decide that a literature review was an appropriate method for your topic?
So I was looking on like different websites for different papers to look at, and I just think um a review paper will be really helpful for such a maybe people like me, high school students, to learn about this the biotechnology field as a whole. And I think it's also a really useful way for researchers to look at some recent developments of this field and actually use their creativity to find out a good approach to maybe some problems. And while I was doing research, I was just looking through papers on the websites, but I also got a lot of help from my mentor, and they also suggested me different ways to research, and then they also looked at my paper and tell me the best way to do it.
Great. And then in terms of the findings of your paper, I know you said that this industry has been gaining traction in the last few decades or so. With the findings of your paper, did you find anything interesting, maybe that you weren't expecting to find, or things that you think are super important to the topic?
Um, I think there were, of course, a lot of things that I haven't seen before, especially how new this field was to me. And something that I mentioned in my paper that I found interesting were um, compressed collagen and also like a collagen-based membrane. And I just find it really cool how researchers can find a lot of different ways to modify this material to fit the requirements of making an artificial cornea to actually just optimize the properties. And it's really cool looking at the also the scannings, like the pictures of the outcomes they made inside the paper, which are really fun aspects to actually look at as I research.
Yeah, definitely. And then my last question about your research paper. Have you had any experience with or started the publishing process at all through CCIR for this paper?
So I've been working with CCIR academics like the recent few months to actually narrow down some undergraduate journals or conferences to submit my paper to. I'm really looking for it, and they've been helping me with modification and also gave me a lot of recommendations on publication opportunities. And I've been looking at a few options like the Columbia Junior Science Journal and also the Stanford Journal. I'm still trying to make a decision, but I feel well supported, and I hopefully I can soon publish my paper.
Yeah, that's great. I hope so as well for you. And those sound like really great options, to very well esteemed journals. And then just for all of the people listening, just to highlight what we're talking about. So we're talking about the publication team, which is one of the aspects that we have in our, one of the supports that we have for students in our programs, where even after they are done with their program, they can reach out to the publication team, and the publication team will continue to provide support and guidance for them all the way until they have published their paper. Um, so now we'll shift into your kind of general experience with CCIR. So can you tell us what your experience was with this program and doing a high-level research program like this as a high school student?
Um, like just like I mentioned, I feel really supported because it was a really new thing to me, and it does take some time to adapt to this kind of um, learning method because in school you just usually receive knowledge from teacher and then you do exams, some sort of like that. But then in this course, I actually, besides getting lectures from my mentors, I our my mentors also encouraged us to actually do our independent research, actually search up some content that we're interested in to look at. And I think I get to actually work at my comfortable pace on my paper and also just looking through some extra content that has not been taught in the lectures by myself. And it was really fun, flexible, and also productive. And sometimes I feel like I'm an actual scholar when I'm joining the program.
That's great. And then speaking of mentors as well, so one of the other things that we really like to emphasize in our programs is the aspect of mentorship, as opposed to just the traditional teacher role where our mentors don't just transfer information like you mentioned, but more so they really guide you in your own thinking journey and discoveries. So can you tell us about your experience with your mentor and your TA as well? And kind of your experience as you moved through the first half of the course that focuses more on teaching into the research second half of the course.
Yes, I think Mr. Bureau, my mentor was Mr. Bureau, and I think he provided all of us with a really comfortable environment during the lessons. And I think he did a really good job just explaining complex concepts about tissue engineering in a way that high school students can actually understand. So during the lectures, I can notice how he was really passionate about the topics he was discussing with us. Like, I remember he got really excited when we were looking at the scanning electron microscope images of some biomaterials and matrices in the research papers we found. And he talked about how he thinks these images are really interesting and that they were very useful for us when we tried to get a grasp of the investigation in a research article. And something very memorable about him was that Mr. Bureau was really supportive and he encouraged my group mates and I to ask questions about the content we're going through. And even after he's finished a lecture and there was like 3 minutes left until the end of the class, he would also ensure to only end the lesson after answering any inquiries we have. And I'm really thankful for that because sometimes I just not have the confidence to raise my hand in the middle of the lesson. Um, and I think it was just considerate of him to show his interest towards any possible questions that we might have. And also through him and a TA, we also gained really a deeper understanding and extra knowledge about concepts and also how to publish a paper and how to write a paper from start to the end. And I'd say we maintain a really tight-knit relationship, and they've been assisting me throughout the whole process of absorbing all these novel information. And also with the teaching assistant who also helped us a lot when it comes to starting off our academic papers. And I overall just feel really valued by them, and they're really helpful and kind.
That's really great. And then as a Future Scholars Program student, where you're in this group, can you tell us how it was working with other students? And yeah, walk us through how that was for you.
Yeah, I think it was pretty cool to get to know my group mates, and I think there were about 4 students beside me, and it's interesting because all of them are like on the opposite of the globe from Hong Kong. So when it's evening for me during these sessions, it was literally around 7 a.m. for them, and I like how we're all passionate about regenerative medicine field, but in a very diversified directions, I think. So personally, I'm more interested in biomaterials used for bioengineering a tissue, while others, some of them were more interested in stem cells or actually regenerating a whole organ instead of just a tissue. But we're all really supportive of each other's research topics. And we also had some group supervision sessions before we get our hands on our individual papers. And we just basically help each groupmate by finding research papers they can use on their review or research paper. And so during the lesson, we would discuss some statistics and images. It's really interesting to see how each of my group mates present an article of a total different approach, even when all of them are actually based on the same research topic. So I feel like it really adds to the diversity of the group and it helps us look at things from a multifaceted perspective when working on our own papers.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great insight. And then a few just last questions for you. How do you think this course has shaped how you think about your path moving forward or given you any insights into your future?
Definitely. I think this program definitely really added to my interest towards biology, chemistry, just science as a whole. And um, I've been thinking about taking these similar subjects in my university, or it really just kind of embarks my career path. And I'm I've also been looking for similar opportunities right now to for maybe like my next summer break or something like that.
That's great. And then the last question, what would you say to someone who asked you what the value of doing a project or a program like this is, especially for a high school student?
Um, I think it will definitely be an inspiring, also a really an experience that will widen your horizon, especially if doing research will be something that you'll be interested in. And through this process, like you get to, of course, like learn all new things and you get to socialize with people of the same interest while you get to develop on your passion and actually feel like you're involved in this process of like the development of this field.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. So that was it for our interview. Thank you so much again for joining me and congratulations on your Spotlight nomination.
Thank you so much.